I'm delighted to welcome you all. My name's Emma and this is James, and together we run Nonington Farms. What we're going to do is we're going to show you around, show you some of the things that we do. So we do an awful lot of work for the environment. About 20% of our farm is in environmental measures of one sort or another. We are a leaf demonstration farm. So we became a demonstration farm last year in 2020, which was perfect timing with the pandemic. So we're quite used to these online virtual events. We've never actually done a live one with leaf yet, but we've done Open Farm Sunday many times. And so what being a demonstration farm is about is that we then show other farmers some of our practices, and hopefully we all share together in learning from each other best practice and the ways to move forward. Obviously at the moment we've got pandemic, we've got global food production issues, we've got the end of subsidies looming. It's a very exciting time to be in farming, and one that we are embracing fully. We're really going down the environmental route. So a lot of our farming policy is all about doing stuff for the environment, and I want to show you some of those bits. So the first thing that I want to show you is this hedge that we're incredibly proud of. So we planted this hedge, I think it was 2012 or so, under an old environmental scheme called Higher Level Stewardship. And we planted this hedge, and if you'd seen this hedge last year, it would be right up here to about this sort of height. But it was starting to get gappy. What I mean by that is that there were gaps in between the hedges. You could see where the different plants had been planted. And as far as wildlife and birds particularly are concerned, that's no good. So what we did was we got funding under our new countryside stewardship scheme, which we've just gone into, to lay this hedge. Now, not many people have necessarily seen a laid hedge. Not only does it look absolutely beautiful, and take forever to do, by the way, but what happens is you take the big tree at the top and you lie it down on the ground. You don't kill it though. So what you can see is that this Cambrian layer has just been left. So that's pushed backwards. You stake it in with these hazel sticks, which are all from our coppiced woodland. So it's all been in-house, this. You then lay the hedge down. This is a southeast binding, so it means you've got it on both sides, and it's a particular kind of weave. It's far more technical, and our wonderful hedge layer Michael did that for us. So it's laid down, and already you can see that this is coming into life now. It makes it much bushier, it makes it much better. So the nesting birds, when they come and they start nesting in here, will have a lot more cover from protection, from predators. They'll be protected. It also works, in the old days it worked as a livestock fence, so it's a much more sustainable way. This should last about 20 years. So we did all of that, and we're going to do at least another kilometre each year. But then on top of that, we found a charity who were able to provide us with trees. So what we've done as well is we've planted trees that are going to grow up alongside this hedge. So we've got oak trees all the way up at sort of 30-metre intervals. They're going to be here hopefully forever. And because we do a lot of work with schools, we're in our next layer, obviously with COVID we couldn't do it this year, but next year with our new hedges that we're going to lay, we're going to do the same thing, and we're going to get us each member of the local schools to plant one of these trees. So that's one of the exciting measures we're doing. Next up here, you can see this isn't our normal arable field. This is a bird cover, and we've set aside, alongside the hedge where all the birds are going to live, we set a nice great big area of different types of seed that we're going to have. And up here in this plastic box you can see the kind of bird seed that you might be feeding your birds in the garden. So we've got lots of different types of seed here. I can see wheat, corn, Niger seed, some mustard of some sort, buckwheat, lots and lots of different types of seed, which of course appeals to lots and lots of different types of birds. Some of the finches like particular seeds, sunflowers and so on, and others like bigger seed, all depends. And what we've done therefore is we put lots of different types of crop in here. So this wild bird mix is a big mixture of seeds that ends up looking like that. So another measure of helping the environment, helping the birds. It's really windy today, and I'm not sure if you can hear, but one of the birds that I can hear are the skylarks, which are really exciting. In fact, we have a huge number of different birds. There's a red list, and on our latest bird count, we had, I think, something like 13 out of 16. Now, we've got a question coming in already, which is great. Let's have it.
Question for Annabelle. Is it all one type of hedge, or is it a mixture of plants?
Going back to the hedge, is it all one type of hedge, or is it a mixture of plants? It's definitely a mixture. I think quite a bit of it was hawthorn, something like 70%, but we do mix it up a bit when we're planting our hedges. When we planted that was back in 2010, 2011, something like that. We didn't know as much as we do now. I'm sure any of our new hedge planting going forward would have more of a mixture in it. Great question though, thanks Annabelle. So next up along here, before I get blown over completely, we've then left a bit of the land fallow. Obviously last year we were planting beans. Now one particular insect which loves beans more than anything else are these things here. Don't worry, this isn't a live hive, this is just a demonstration, but it's to show you all the different types of things that we're doing. One of the things that we're really keen on is bees on this farm. Both James and I are beekeepers, and we have a huge amount of success and varied success in keeping bees, but we also have a master beekeeper who keeps our hives throughout the farm as well. And obviously with bees, not only do they help us pollinate, they love beans, they pollinate the rape, they do all sorts of other wonderful things, but we've also produced honey, which is absolutely delicious. And then what we've just started doing as well is taking the beeswax and turning, this is what my son did the other day, he turned the beeswax into these beeswax candles. So there's plenty of different crops that we're growing just in that small acreage of land. Right, the next thing I'm going to show you now is the actual field of wheat. So we are mainly arable farmers, and we do really concentrate on sustainable wheat. So there's no point in growing food if it's not going to taste good. And the way you make food taste really, really good is grown well. So to do that, we're massively reducing our carbon footprint with the aim of being carbon zero in 2 years. To do that, we're cutting out our fertiliser use. We have got renewable energy on this grain store. We've got huge amounts, all the solar panels. So we're producing electricity, which then gets sold back onto the national grid so that it's renewable. We're hoping to do a lot more with our woodland. We've got woodland management and all sorts of things like that going on. But also we've got the main crops. And as I've shown you with our other measures, it's having huge benefits because some of the insects and the wildlife that are thriving there also help us cut down our herbicides, our insecticides. So we're using fewer and fewer sprays as a result. Now, one of the benefits of this, therefore, is massively improving the soil. And here, hopefully, if we open it up, you can see what I'm talking about. Not only is that beautiful and crumbly, there's lots and lots of root structure going on because we never leave our ground uncovered so that the soil erosion doesn't happen. But we should probably also find lots and lots of worms in here. Of course, there you go. That's what I'm talking about, okay? So this is a bit of wheat, and the wheat grows in there, and instead of ploughing, we get the worms to do the hard work for us. So put it all back, hopefully I can now show you some of the kind of products that we're doing. But as a result of this, the nutritional value of the wheat means that it's absolutely delicious, nutritionally rich. So you need less of it to eat this, get the same calorific value. Got another question.
Another question from Sebastian. What does fallow?
Sebastian, great question. Sorry, I should have explained. Fallow means leaving it alone. So instead of, we took the crop last year, the crop was beans, but we left that bit. We left that for the birds, for the wildlife, for nature. So fallow means leaving it for at least a year. some of our fallow options are for 2 years, and it gives the soil a bit of time to recover. As long as you've got ground cover on it, which obviously we did have because we put in beans, it means that everything underneath the crop, so in the soil, can really have a rest, take root. So we're growing wheat here. Next year it won't be fallow, but it will change the cropping again. It will grow something different, so that the same weeds that are growing up and the wheat won't grow up next year. So fallow means leaving it for at least a growing season. So yeah, nutritional value and being sustainable means that our crops attract a premium. This wheat is called Skyfall. I think it came out at the same time as the Bond film did, and it is a milling wheat variety, and it has pretty high protein, and also it means that the stretchability of the grain makes it perfect for bread making. So let me show you some of the things that our crops go into as we just go down the field, and I'll try very hard not to fall over. So as you can imagine, with all the crops, mainly what we're doing is growing wheat. 50% of our crops are wheat, but we've also got other crops growing. Besides the environmental measures, we have got, let's have a look, we've got some oats. We've got oats which go into porridge rather than animal feed. Obviously you'll recognise some of these things. This is all made out of wheat, so too are the biscuits, although sometimes they can be made out of barley flour, and so we have barley as well. And then this is not olives. Our country is not quite that hot yet. Instead it's rapeseed. So what we've got here is pure rapeseed oil, and that's the one that's just about to start flowering. It's those great big yellow flowers that that you will see in about the next five days or so, and it will flower through over Easter at least. So yeah, this is the raw material. This is the wheat, and once it's milled it goes into flour, which of course is what makes this. This is one that James cooked earlier today. And I thought, Thomas has loaded up his wheat here on his forklift. He's basically doing a miniature version of the sort of operations that go on during the summer. And instead of a loader, it would normally be a combine, but never mind. And what we have here is the mill. Now, obviously, this gets ground up, so you've got the wheat in the top, and it gets ground up and turned into flour here, which is what goes into the flour here. So I think we've done a pretty good whistle-stop tour. Let me check in with James if there are any other questions that we've got. There are. Let's hope that they're not just going to be blown away.
What animals and birds live in hedgerows?
Animals and birds that live in hedgerows. Animals, I would say bats use them. Apparently there's bats use them to as a sort of map, so they know that if they go along and follow the hedgerows, then they'll be able to get to wherever it is that they want to be going from. In terms of little animals, there's voles and mice that live on the bottom of the hedgerows and pop up, and in fact when we were laying this hedge you could see the vole and the shrews actually in their tracks. In terms of birds, take your pick. Any number of small nesting birds will make their nests in there. We've got pied wagtails and lots of tits and finches, all sorts of things. And in fact, there's the church at Nonington, it's just over there. And for 2 times in the last 2 weeks, we've had an unusual bird, which is not necessarily nesting in the hedge, but it's definitely been sighted around here. And that is a red-footed falcon, which is really exciting. It's very rare. I've never seen one before. Apparently they come from Hungary, but it just shows that they must like something about what the sort of farming that we're doing around here. Are there any other questions? Yes, there are. They're coming thick and fast. That's great.
How does sustainable farming help to preserve the land and the environment for future generations?
Wow, that's a really... How long have you got? How does sustainable farming help preserve the land? First of all, it's because what we're doing is sustainable, so it should be able to make things better. We want to be able to do farming not just for our generation, not just for the next, but for 500 years at least. And in order to do that, we have to preserve the soil primarily, but we've also obviously got to deal with climate change, and we're going to therefore have to do our bit for all of that. So carbon sequestration, we want to be putting carbon dioxide back into the land and trapping it in the soil. We want to be planting more and more trees. So those kind of things are exactly how we can make farming sustainable for the future. Yes, another one.
The question from Annabelle.
Yeah.
How do you decide which crops to grow each year?
How do we decide which crops to grow each year? There are a number of different factors when we're deciding on the cropping. One is what we've got in the ground at the moment. One is what's worked in the past. Sometimes if you grow crops too close together, there's a pest problem. For example, with beans, if you grow them too often, then there can be diseases born in the soil. What we are trying to achieve, so we might not be doing anything else with that particular crop. We might not have a contract for it. A lot of our crops that we grow, we'd like to know where they're going to be sold. So we have a sustainable wheat contract, for example. That doesn't mean that we're going to turn the whole farm into wheat, but it means that we need to know which bits are going to be grown when. The other thing is crop rotation. We need to have a rotation of crops so that we can constantly be bringing diversity into the environment, but also down into the soil structure as well. So there's lots of different elements that go into it. Also, we might have a new client who just says, well, it was this last time. His farm might be right next door to someone else's, and she might have a different crop, and if we want to plant them all at the same time, do it all together, it might make more sense to change the cropping a bit like that. Now we've got 1 more minute, and I wonder if we've got one more question. Time for one more question.
Can sustainable farming help to stop soil erosion?
In a word, yes, sustainable farming can help to stop soil erosion. The main thing is cover crops. As I said earlier, we're always putting crops on the ground, even if it's not wheat. Once we've cut the wheat, we put another crop in straight away. That will help the soil, it will help everything else going on it, and it might help for the next crop that's going in. So yes, sustainable farming is the future. We're doing regenerative agriculture, which is part and parcel of that, and it's essential, and it's the way that I think we're going to be able to sort out the mess that the world is in terms of climate change.
Very quickly, one question from Nicole. How long does it take to harvest a field?
Nicole, how long does it take to harvest a field? It takes us all summer to harvest all of our fields, about 4 or 5 weeks, and we're working about 18 hours a day. Depends on the size of the field, but our latest combine that we use probably can do a hectare, which is about the size of a football pitch, in about probably in about 5-10 minutes, I should think. So a field this size, this field is about 20 hectares. It would probably take us to combine that. It would probably take about 2 hours, I should think. Maybe a bit more. I'm not sure. Depends on the corn carters and all that kind of stuff. We definitely wouldn't just do this field in one day. So it would be quite a long time. If anyone else has got any more questions, then please post them. We will be able to answer them separately, but I don't want to overrun because I know there's a large number of other farmers who are just as eager as we are to show you around their farms. So thank you, everybody. And I'm now going to hand back, I think, to Annabelle and Tabitha, who are going to take you off to their next farm. Thank you very much. Bye.